What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 269 of Littleroot Lessons. I'm Ro, and I'm joined by the hardest working producer in Pokemon podcasting, who is Milwaukee bound, Carl. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. Getting very ready for Milwaukee. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon in the last week and a half. I think I have 400 games, like 400 best of threes.
Yep,
Since
that'll
I started
do it.
testing. So I've been testing hard because I actually want to have an actual team and not feel my mistake at Indy was I wasn't confident in my team going into it, so I pivoted to Rinya's Sun and I did awful. So my goal this time around has been just confidence in what I'm playing, know what I'm doing, and that's why we're talking about a bunch of different teams today.
Yeah, and actually that is a good point. Like, this is your first event, like live event in the Scarlet Violet era, like first live major.
Yeah, this is my first open team sheet, like, big event. So I'm excited because I'm very good at analyzing and approaching open team sheet. I know how to approach matchups when I have all that extra data. So it's going to be very much more in my favor than the blind matchups that I'm used to back in Sword and Shield.
God, I love close team sheet. So that was.
I am so glad we don't have to play that anymore.
With Terra, it would be miserable. I will say that, but like pre-Terra, back when your Pokemon or your opponent's Pokemon couldn't at random turn into literally any single type possible. I don't know. I kind of missed it. It came up yesterday because I was at a league event, like not like a sanctioned challenge. One of our local judges and TOs, they're getting their own store going. So you have to do like the 3 events beforehand, and someone's like, "Oh yeah, it's like, oh, this person in the community is the Dialga person," and I like looked right at them like, "No, I'm the Dialga guy here.
I'm the Dialga guy."
and they're like, "Well,
I miss Yveltal so freaking much."
I don't. Or
I
mean, actually, that's a lie. I do. Yveltal would make this format, or just restrict so much more. And I'm like, yeah, it's like the set was Jane because I'm thinking of him like, there's no way you would be able to get away with 4 attack Life Orb Dialga with speed swap.
Nope.
And like CSR as your quote unquote speed control. Yeah, that ain't happening anymore. You do not expect to see speed swap at this regional. Do expect to see a lot of Calyrex Shadow, a lot more than we've seen in the past, to be quite honest.
My current meta call is I'm expecting Calyrex Shadow Rider, Zamazenta. That's going to be the big one. My matchup into that is about 55-45. I can win it if I know what all their speed tiers are and how they're playing. I can probably get game 2 and 3 pretty quickly. My other big calls are there's going to be a ton of Sun, Koraidon plus whatever. It's very, very powerful right now. It's also real hard to hate on that because it's just like Koraidon plus Chi-Yu, Fluttermane, redirection, and then either Lunala with Indeedee or CSR with speed control of some sort. Like, there's a lot of strong options there. So it's a good what's the word? It's a good first day event type of team where it's just like, I'm going to do my thing. You can do whatever. I'm still going to do my thing. And so my team is set up to say, no, you can't do your thing, or I'm going to interact with the way you're doing your thing. And I have a 100% Koraidon win rate right now in testing. Still,
yeah, it's you, and that's the thing. So going through before we dive into some teams, like there was a Japanese ladder tournament because they still do those. Remember when we did like ladder tournaments when those were actually useful for us?
Yeah,
good times. But Calyrex Shadow Rider was the number 1 Pokemon used, not like number 1 restricted, number 1 Pokemon. And then Zama was in 4th overall. Koraidon was in 6th. Miraidon was in 3rd. So, and then to round out the top 6 were Urshifu and Incin. But yeah, but I'd say like right now, if you're really going through just blanketing like general gist, ghost type restricted plus fighting type restricted is pretty much all permutations are pretty strong. Is pretty strong.
Yeah,
and like that's going to be the main thing to expect. And we can just start going through the teams. Do you want to just go through? We'll start with the big one, Zama CSR.
Yeah, let me get to where that one's at because we have 2 of those. Well,
Yes.
I have one open right now. I have a second one I have to go get the paste for again.
Yeah.
Because I copied and pasted the wrong thing. But we can get this one first.
So what we have here, this is the first version, and this is, to an extent, where things started with Calyrex Shadow Zamazenta. In my opinion, one of the reasons why CSR Zama is going to be the most represented team there, at least like it is going to be the biggest threat, is because the overall backbone of the team has already been developed, and I think it's further along in its development cycle than other teams. You have Calyrex Shadow, which in most cases running max speed. You can either run it with a boosting item like Life Orb or Spell Tag in this case, or you can also run it with Sash. The Terra type is either the offensive Terra Ghost or a Terra Dark or Normal for the mirror match into other CSRs. While Zamazenta does the usual stuff, and it also helps in the mirror by being a wide guard mon to make sure that they can't click Astral and you can. The backbone for this...
It effectively makes the mirror easier.
Also, what helps it as well is all those pesky normal types and dark types don't like seeing Zamazenta. Like, Incin gets O-code, or at least forced into Terra, by Zama's body press. Your normal type Pokemon, such as Terapagos, don't like seeing Zama, not only because of the damage output that it can put out, but also because it, again, threatens Wide Guard, where it has to Terra to hit Calyrex. But if it Terras, then you get
your one move that you were going to be hitting Calyrex with that you Terra'd for is now blocked by Wide Guard. So it's just like
the backbone of it. It's the pivot bros. Almost said something else there. One of these days I'm going to slip. Rillaboom, Incin, you know what they do. One of the cool things that we're seeing right now with Incineroar is Terra Bug being the predominant Terra type on it. Again, specifically for this matchup. You want to have a Terra type that resists the Ghost and the fighting from Zama and CSR. Because if you go Terra Ghost to get away from the
fighting weakness, you get blown up by Astral Barrage.
And if you stick with that fighting with your dark typing, well, then you get body press. The other 2 spots can be a little flex spots. This one we have the redirection in Ogerpon Heartflame here, and Raging Bolt, and this team specifically has the booster Terra Electric, which does a ton of damage, and again is a restricted in its own right.
Yeah, Raging Bolt's great. It went away for a while, and I'm glad it's back because it's the balance breaker. It's so good at just saying, okay, you want to play this balanced Stolly game with Rillaboom and Incineroar, I can just click a Draco Meteor and just end either one. Along
with the fact that you also resist the Fire, Water, Grass. Yeah. You hit and again, Draco just hits everything neutral. It's actually, again, like being an Electric Dragon type, pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about.
We'll talk about Miraidon later.
Yeah. So this was the original version of the team, but recently, over the past 2 to 3 weeks, we've been seeing another version of CSR Zama pop up. This was piloted to a first-place finish by Zine, former World Champion 2023. It was 23, the first Scarlet and Violet World Championship. Yep, this team won the second VR tournament last week. This is leaning a lot into Zamazenta's best friends. In Regulation G, towards the end, Zama really liked being next to Rillaboom and Qianpao. And then you have this manual rain duo in Torn Urshifu that really help into the Sun teams that are going to be popping up with Koraidon. You run the Sash. You can switch some of these items around. You can put the Sash on CSR, which on this team with the Life Orb on Qianpao. You could do Sash Pow and Life Orb CSR. So there's a lot of different options here. It's the Japanese teams are a little weird moving forward on when like North American players adopt them. I think you're going to see both versions, and I wouldn't be shocked if even I wouldn't be shocked if the regular balance version has more play, but this version here sees more success. If you know what I'm if you know
This
what I'm
is very
saying.
much the more hyper aggressive I'm going to attack you
Mm.
version. Having the Chin Pow, having the Urshifu, having the Tornadus to just make sure that your speed control set up. You're going to deal damage with either Urshifu or Zamazenta next to Chin Pow. Rillaboom's kind of your glue to kind of help your resistances because you have a ground weakness in Zamazenta, you have a grass weakness on Urshifu. You want to be able to pivot in and out around that, fake out and stuff. So this is very much more of the all in. You said it was all in more around Zamazenta's friends. It's more just hyper focused on
Yeah.
aggression rather than the balanced style play we see with the other version.
Well, Zama likes aggressive friends.
Yeah,
Like,
because
like,
Zama actually doesn't deal any damage.
no, not unless you're hitting super effective or like in right position. No, and I think like that is the thing. Like again, it just blows my mind that the regulation G Part 1 to G Part 2 Zamazenta upgrade was. Wait a second. What if we just ran this with good Pokemon and not Latios?
Yeah, right. I will say Terra Ghost versus Terra Dragon Zamazenta. The Terra Ghost feels a little weaker because everyone tends to run more dark coverage on their teams because Calyrex Shadow is a thing. So if you somehow are forced into that Ghost Terra because Iron Hands or Urshifu or something's on the other side, they're still going to be able. The teams usually have good ways to hit you still, whereas that Terra Dragon, yes, you're not. You're going to get hit by the fighting type attack still, but it's not going to do as much. You're already bulky. I feel like using your bulk to your advantage rather than terroring into a type that is very commonly going to have coverage for is a little bit iffy.
Yeah. I'm still not sure what the right Terra is going to be for Zama.
I'm very leaning into Dragon. Dragon feels very,
I think
very
to start
strong.
it's going to be Dragon.
Grass is what I've seen a couple times.
I could say Grass.
Grass means it's like, oh, I'm not weak to the ground types anymore. I'm still weak to fire, but fire coverage outside of Koraidon's hitting me hard regardless, right? Like I don't want to sit in front of a Koraidon anyway, so like I'm not going to sit in front of you while you attack me to begin with. The big things for Zamazenta are like you want to be able to tank Miraidon hits, you want to be able to tank more of the other restricteds that aren't named Koraidon.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that the Ghost is a little weaker.
Yeah, but we'll definitely see. But like in general, like this is another. If you're going to Milwaukee, this is like those were like the two teams. Of course, like this balanced team was more known. But like even today, the VGC Trainer School just hosted. It was like a 60-person Reg I prep tour, and this six yet again won that tournament. Again, a lot smaller than winning Victory Road. But this is a team that like once the North American players, if they haven't already, once they do pick it up, you're going to see it everywhere. Not calling it like the new balance or anything, but like this could be another like evolution, so to speak, in the Calyrex Shadows Zama. That's continuing to grow, even with its strong base that we already saw it have.
Yeah. Let's continue with CSR and talk about the turtle real fast while we have it right next to it. So CSR turtle, Terapagos' big thing is it always has to have the Terra. Unless you get like +7 +6 on both special attack and special defense, you almost always have to Terra this thing to actually have it deal significant damage. Which is why things like Calyrex Shadow, Zamazenta, Zacian, like some of those Pokemon tend to be better partners because they don't Terra as often. Again, doing still the standard balance stuff, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Ogerpon. Notably, the Terra Galapagos teams play the Cornerstone because Follow Me with Sturdy is really, really good when you're trying to set up. And then that last slot's usually kind of whatever speed control you want it to be. This one's playing Fluttermane. I've seen Whimsicott. I've seen Torn. These teams are very straightforward. I don't know if these are like the correct versions of Turtle.
Yeah, I'm not
We'll see.
sure. So I think one of the big things that Calyrex Shadow adds to the Terapagos teams is, especially because you're 252, 252, you're going with the Sash, you can at least put out initial pressure where you could do like a fake out plus Astral Barrage, even just starting to pepper things where you only need to click maybe Calm Mind like once to start cleaning up instead of 2 to 3 times. One of the really neat things with this team as well, and just the neat part of Regulation I, is that people are really leaning back into Calyrex Shadow's list, honestly,
The extensive list of moves.
Yeah.
There's Will-O-Wisp, Pollen Puff, Encore, which
Disable.
Calyrex Ice gets all of these too, but
I don't think it gets Willow.
it doesn't get the Willow, but a lot like the Pollen Puff, Calyrex Ice also has. Trust me, as someone who just had to go through and teach
No,
all the
I
moves,
know, and like it makes sense, but also like it's still weird.
It's because
hear.
Calyrex.
Yeah.
And so the Encore and the Pollen Puff are the big two that are like popping up more. Willow is hit or miss. A lot of these times these teams are also playing Incineroar, which also plays Willow. So having the double Willow feels like you're sometimes like you want it to hit, but like you're bringing Incineroar for most of your games anyway. So having Calyrex with Willow feels like you're taking up a slot. That could be I really like the Encore. The Encore from the Zamazenta team. I think the Encore is very, very strong there because it's not Prankster Encore. So you get into Prankster you can Encore the Dark types, you can Encore Prankster immune things, you can get around Armor Tail and all that jazz.
One of the things I do like with the Will-O-Wisp, though, specifically the Fast Wisp, is to threaten Zamazenta, which is one of the toughest matchups for Terapagos. And I think that's the other thing that kind of helps with the CSR. You have this Fast Wisp option that they can't go and like just body press away like with the Incin. So I can definitely at least understand the idea with this team specifically. If you want to talk about other techs that I think would be cool with this team, instead of putting Wisp on the Incin, Helping Hand.
That's something that we're seeing a lot more now too. Is
Yeah.
you get to see Helping Hand more. And it's Helping Hand is actually sneaky good on Incineroar. It's just Incineroar always wants these first three knockoff fake out parting shots. So it's always that last move. It's like, what do you want this to be? It could be Flare Blitz, it could be Will-O-Wisp, it could be Helping Hand. I've seen Bulldoze, I've seen everything under the sun for Incineroar. I think the AV sets are cool too. They get U-turn. U-turn's an option. But the fast Willow is nice. It's just they also can just protect and then taunt your Calyrex, and then you're not gonna Willow them ever. Or if you run into the Torn with the Torn team has Prankster Taunt, if I remember right. No, they have Rain Dance, so yeah. They're not playing Covert Cloak, so they have to play Protect. Which I feel like that's wrong.
Yeah. But overall, with this team, if you do see Terapagos, it's probably going to be this. I don't think it's going to be super popular, again, just because I feel like the three teams that we're going to see the most are, or at least like the main archetype we're going to see the most, are going to be these fighting type based teams, and Terapagos, even like, especially like your CSR Koraidon, which has a ton of offense, you're going, even with like the Rillaboom, Incin, like fake out, pivoting, they're still going to blow you up, and the second you just get out of position in any manner, you're just kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this will be a team that you should at least keep in the back burner.
You should have a plan for it just when it pops up.
Yeah.
These scary Terapagos are the Covert Cloak ones, the ones where you can't snarl them down or Struggle Bug or whatever. Those are the ones you got to watch out for. The Leftovers ones, they're annoying, but you eventually can break through them. It's the Covert Cloak ones that'll get you.
Yeah. What do we have next?
The Koraidon CSR team.
Yep. Okay, we're going. This is one. I'm gonna send you another one that's a little, because this one has like the wheezing, which you can go, because we've seen
the wheezing is getting so much popularity with the Koraidon Calyrex combos. just being able to turn off abilities and whatnot. This one is mild compared to some of them, because a lot of these ones are Dozo Tatsugiri teams.
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
And let me tell you, Dozogiri is a hell of a drug. It's not super great in Regai because you just get blown up by Calyrex Shadow and Miraidon. But if you can get it into a position where you don't have to worry about those big special attackers, it's really, really strong.
Yeah, no, so going through it right now on Lab Mouse, as you said, the Dozo version of this is also one of the top teams. Another version of the team that we're seeing in Spear Pillar still keeps the CSR, Koraidon, and
Should be
CSR
the Chi, right?
Yep, those three stay.
Because this is the core. This is these three. And then
you see
have these other three that are just whatever.
Yeah. And so it's like you'll see other forms of speed control such as Whimsicott. You'll see tech Pokemon such as Raging Bolt or Ditto. And then the other Mon that is popping up a lot more that we're continuing to see is Brute Bonnet. Just acting as your redirection Mon, as your bulky dark type. Another thing that Brute Bonnet really helps with in general is that it's just naturally bulkier than Amoonguss. And while Amoonguss does get the healing from Regenerator, the level of damage output is so much larger that you might need to switch in, switch out, switch in, switch out like a couple, do a switch in and then switch back out again in order to get enough health to continue your sustainability. So Bonnet right now is in a really good spot, specifically on these Koraidon teams. They are running very defensive, usually running booster defense.
Booster defense, Terra Water. You can also booster for special defense. That's an option on the Bonnet. It's not like some Pokemon where you can't get to that number. Looking at a couple of the Paradox Pokemon, they're designed in a way you can't hit specific numbers. Brute Bonnet hits everything but speed, I think.
Yep, which is smart because that would have been miserable to just have
fast Spore. Let's
super
go.
Fast Spore. But yeah, in general with Koraidon, I'm not going to say that it's the same idea as the Koraidon teams that we've been seeing, but it also kind of is like a similar-ish idea. It's a Calyrex Shadow Rider instead of a Fluttermane. Honestly, sometimes you might even see the Calyrex Shadow and the Fluttermane. Because being fast ghost offense is really good in this format. So those are just two things, a few other things to note with this combination. And Calyrex Shadow Rider isn't the only ghost psychic type that Koraidon likes being next to.
Mm-hmm. Where is which Lunala is the next one? Find it. Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? Oh, there it is. Bam.
Yep.
This one has the Brute Bonnet.
Yes.
I was busy looking at what the numbers for Brute Bonnet were. It is just barely by one.
Yep.
118 attack at min attack versus max speed. So there is a way to get there. There is technically a way to get there, but it requires very, very fast Intimidate and very, very slow sunsetting.
Yes.
So
okay, so actually that does remind me. I did see someone, they were running Trailblaze on their Brute Bonnet so that they can Trailblaze and then get the sun up.
Oh, that's clever.
So they were thinking of that was an option, and they're like, this is bad, but it's hilarious.
It's still hilarious, yeah, right? It's still funny. But if you really, really, really wanted to go fast Spore with Brute Bonnet and all that, just have your Brute Bonnet get intimidated and be 0 attack and 0 defense and 0 special attack and 0. I don't think you have to be 0 special attack, but it's close. And then 0 special defense and max speed. You can't put IVs in attack because you'll still get too high. You could probably put a little bit. You can just put max HP and then 4 into defense, or actually your 4 doesn't matter. So
So let's talk about what Lunala is doing here. Lunala is kind of doing a best of both worlds between the offensive typing that Calyrex Shadow gives Koraidon as a partner, while also providing it wide guard support, which a Pokemon like Zamazenta usually would with these teams, but you don't want to run Zama next to Koraidon together.
Yeah.
Lunala does have a very very impressive, I believe, base 137 special attack.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So your Power Herb Meteor Beam really, really helps. Also gets Instant off the board, which
not every time. You can spec Instant to live the hits now.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I haven't ran the Power Herb version of Lunala.
A lot of the AV sets can live the Meteor Beam.
That makes sense. The rest of the mons are kind of, again, your standard stun mons: Chiyu,
Flutterfish, and then Lunala support and Bonnet. Yeah, this is if Zamazenta was the first easiest team to build, Lunala Koraidon was the second easiest team to build.
Yeah,
because everything just kind of fits right there. It's like, oh, I have Lunala, I have Sun. Chiyu fits on this team. Oh, I have Chiyu. I should play Fluttermane because Flutterfish is really good. Brute Bonnet helps my Pokemon live. So does Indeedee. Yeah, like this team literally just like, it's not like super hard team building to figure out that this is really like a solid team.
Yeah. The other thing that Indeedee does help with, it gives you the Trick Room mode where you can get away with Lunala running 3 attacks, keeping the Expanding Force, or at least that Psychic coverage, and the Moongeist Beam, along with the Meteor Beam, which is a weakness like for other Meteor Beam Lunala teams, where you have the Meteor Beam and you also have Trick Room. And so you're super, and the wide guard, so like you're super limited on what coverage
Expanding Force is always the second move is always the move that goes away when you want to add Trick Room. It's always Moongeist, Meteor, wide guard, and then whatever you want it to be. So it could be Moonblast on the Terra Fairy versions. It's Expanding Force with Indeedee. It's Trick Room if you don't have other Trick Room setter. Kind of just wherever you want this last move to be. It's kind of just whatever. Yeah. But Moongeist, Meteor, and Wide Guard on this set is a must. When we get to the other Lunala teams, that's when you get into some of the more unique stuff, is what I call it.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely get a little more unique in a way. But yeah, it also is nice, again, like Lunala and Koraidon, both these Pokemon won major events. It feels like the two of them, especially Koraidon, has the biggest tailwind going from Reg G to Reg I in terms of just the amount of results it's getting. I believe it's now tied Miraidon for most Reg G majors, when like before this Koraidon didn't have anything. Mm-hmm. So the fact that it's really going off right now, it's like this is the Pokemon in pretty much everyone's head, which is really cool to see. Like both legendaries from this generation receive their flowers, get their wins, but also in the grand scheme of things, I wouldn't call Koraidon or Miraidon, which we're going to get to relatively shortly, broken Pokemon. I think they did a really good job like speccing these two Pokemon so that they would be fair and balanced for restricted Pokemon.
Yeah.
Not like what they failed to do with all of the Gen 8 Pokemon, where they had to nerf the dogs. But they didn't touch the $90 ones. But they had to nerf the dogs and everything. They were like, okay, let's just make good Pokemon that don't break the game, and they succeeded. So congratulations, Nintendo. You did one thing correct.
You didn't break the game. Yay.
No, well, you didn't break it any more than it is.
Yeah. The Sun teams are both this one and the CSR. They both kind of just feel very similar. It's just what tools are where, I guess, is the best way to put it. If you got one, if you want to be fast, you just play the CSR. If you want a more bulky, balanced style, you probably play the Lunala. That's kind of all I got to say on that.
Yeah.
Next up, Lunala Miraidon.
Okay, so I could talk about this team a lot.
We have two versions of this one too. Yeah. So let me know when you want me to switch.
Yeah, so this is the first version of the team. Finished top 4 in the first victory road. The idea with a lot of these first Miraidon teams was kind of along the lines of, what if we tried doing Arabega, but with a restricted and like some changes. So like the changes between the Arabega and Miraidon, and this Miraidon is that instead of a Farigiraf, you have a Lunala with the Electric Seed, which Electric Seed boosts the defense when in electric terrain, as you know. Um, the Lunala becomes insanely bulky once you get, especially with the Shadow Shield and the Electric Seed. Like, anything that isn't super effective is going to do like 40 damage to it while you have the Shadow Shield up.
Mm-hmm.
And for this one specifically, I went with the Scarf Chi-Yu. Scarf Chi-Yu does help to an extent. One of the things Miraidon does not like going up against is Sash, Max Speed, Calyrex Shadow. The Chi-Yu definitely helps that by Snarl support, outspeeding it, giving you a way to do a lot of damage to it, and while being a dark type. So it is better for this team than like the Ogerpon Heartflame. The issue is you don't have a lot of, and this kind of like goes with all Miraidon teams to an extent. You don't have enough. You don't have enough protects, and there is so much incidental Miraidon hate in the format, whether it's the like Rillaboom on the CSR. Well, first of all, like, you don't like seeing the Sash CSR anyway. You don't like seeing a ton of Qianpao, which we're potentially starting to see a little more of that. You don't really like anything that boosts to become faster than you, to hit you harder. You don't like any of the Rillaboom, the fake out pivoting. The fake out pivot wasn't as much of an issue when you had Farigiraf, but you don't anymore.
Yeah,
so
that was gonna be my big thing. Is just like the fake out, not having as many protects when you don't have that for Farigiraf is huge.
So yesterday I was at a friendly. I played this exact 6, and like the pieces felt cohesive. The team felt outdated already. Only like this, I believe the first VR tournament was about 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago.
It was 3 weeks ago, and
Yes,
everything's already changing a ton.
Yeah, so in the span of 3 weeks, I'd say that this 6 over here is outdated. Having an AV Pokemon and double choice Pokemon with the amount of fake out in the format just doesn't feel great. Yesterday I had a really good set against Tony. Like, I lost. Unbelievable set, super fun set. And the main thing that contributed to my loss is if I just had one extra protect to get through that last turn of Sun to just get back control of the game, I'd be fine. And that's just what it felt like. After that set, I felt like wow, if I had a protect, just literally just one more, I think I would feel a lot better. And like, there's also a few other things. Like, you don't seeing a fairy type is honestly hell, because you can't really. The only Pokemon you can really switch into it. A great example. The only Pokemon that can really safely switch into Zacian is Lunala.
Mm-hmm.
And Lunala's a 2-hit and Lunala can 2-hit Zacian with the Moongeist Beam. But again, it's like trying to play around it. They aren't going to target your Lunala, and again, you don't have the Protect to like go play like Protect and then target down. So moving on to today in the Trainer School tournament, we just saw a new version of the team, where you're running Entei, which honestly Entei helps so much by giving a great fairy, like a legitimate fairy and steel resist to the team.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you're running it as a life orb, so that's your extra protect there. And the other thing is switching the Urshifu from Waterfu into Darkfu. Well, Waterfu does get a lot more play, and the Japanese ladder tour I mentioned earlier in the episode was the second most used Pokemon out after Calyrex Shadow. Darkfu gives you a dark type, which you really need on this team. It also gives you, instead of having the Scarf speed control, gives you priority speed control. You could lead the Urshifu with Miraidon on the back to make sure that you get your terrain control back, so they can't like try to do any weird things with Indeedee. Along with getting some extra priority with the Entei as well. I think like I'm probably going to fire this up a little later next time I play. I feel like this is just a better 6. The parts, or at least like the bulk of, like the team feels the same in the sense of you have your fire type, you have your dark type. You do lose a water type, but in this format, I honestly like with the amount of sun and no weather control, like the water food didn't really feel amazing. So honestly, your Wicked Blow is probably going to do a little more for you. And again, it's like you get that third protect, second protect. Which
you get another protect. That's the key thing. You get another protect.
Yep.
This is just effectively the next version up. It's approaching going, oh hey, I have these tools that I like. Let's find different Pokemon that can do these tools that use different items, so I'm not being locked into the Scarf Snarl or the not being able to protect in front of somebody, things like that. I feel like that's, like you said, it's a problem with Miraidon teams in general, just because of the way they are built. Like most Miraidon teams have Iron Hands. Most Miraidon teams have that Specs Miraidon, and even if they're not Specs, they're either Scarf usually, or they are Assault Vest. Like those are the other two big variants coming out as we were progressing into Reg I. And so you already got 2 Pokemon that don't have Protect. You're wanting to play Lunala. Lunala doesn't have room for Protect. You have Wide Guard, which kind of acts like a pseudo Protect, but it's not always like usable in every situation. And then your Whimsicott is your support Pokemon with Covert Cloak. It doesn't need Protect. You're not playing it there. So with the old team, you had your Urshifu was your only other spot for a Protect. And so going into this new one, like you still have that Urshifu in a different form, but now instead of the Chi-Yu, you found a different fire type in Entei in this version. There's also Volcarona's popping up as a secondary fire type that can run Protect on teams. That one's been popping up a ton.
Another Pokemon that you could also like think of running, if you want a different Sashmon, inside the Urshifu and still keeping that, you could also look at something like Genpao, especially next to the Entei. It gives you that duo where you can have your discount like Terra Normal E-Speed spam. That's just another option to look at with this team if you don't want to go with the Urshifu. But what's nice with the Urshifu is that the pressure that Miraidon can put on will force your opponent to Protect, and you can just Wicked Blow through that Protect.
That's the kicker. It's Urshifu's ability to Wicked hit through the Protect. That's the big kicker. That's why you probably play it over that Genpao, being able to, because everybody wants to protect in front of the Miraidon. They want to see what you're locking into before you lock into it. So being able to hit through that with the Wicked Blow, or in the previous one, the Surging Strikes, was really, really important. And so I'd like the 5. The Entei feels flexible. It could kind of be whatever fire type you really want it. Like if you don't like the Sacred Fire, Terra Normal, Extreme Speed stuff, you can probably play a different fire type here that's going to deal offensive damage of some sort. The Quiver Dance Volcarona, which we'll see here in a minute, that one's popular. There's also obviously Ogerpon Hearthflame could be in this slot. You could put the Hearthflame back on there. It does a similar job of just being a good fire type with the added benefit of being able to redirect hits. So yeah.
So we have. Want to go with the other Miraidon team?
Miraidon. Well, I got 2 more Miraidon.
2 more. Okay.
We'll go Miraidon Zamazenta next, because this is another one that's coming up from the new. I call it the second wave. That second VR. This is where this started to pop up. This is literally Joe's team swapping fighting types.
Yep.
For Zamazenta.
Yeah, it was an Urshifu before, now it's a Zama. You still have your setup Volcarona mode. You have your screens. The hands Miraidon, they just go super well together. And then you have Sash Ditto here, which again, like one of the changes with Ditto that we've been seeing in this recent restricted format, not only is it being used a little more in single restricted than we've seen in the past, but like it's not just using Sash. One of the cool changes I actually saw, I can't remember, it might have been at the special event this weekend, but it was Ability Shield Ditto.
Yeah. So that's the big thing is with Wheezing being popular, it turns off Imposter. So that's kind of a clever tech of being able to, if I see Wheezing, I still want to be able to transform, because otherwise I'm stuck with a Ditto that I then have to click transform with, and Ditto's not ever going to get that move off probably. So
yeah.
So that's actually some pretty clever tech if Wheezing's very popular, just playing the ability shield on whatever mon you want to guarantee the ability for. I've seen ability shield Grimmsnarl starting to pop up more too. Just because you want to be able to make sure you have your prankster for your screens, because that's a big way of how the Koraidon Wheezing CSR teams get around the Grimmsnarl is they just lead Wheezing and blow up the Grimmsnarl before the screens can go up.
Yeah, because without its ability, like Grimm's kind of
you're not outspeeding anybody. Like
no.
Unless you pre-thunderwaved everything, you're not outspeeding anyone. So you really want to have that prankster. So even if you have your screens up for only a couple turns, less than what they would be with the light clay, it's worth having that prankster pretty much be untouchable. But otherwise, this is the Reg G team that was doing well with Joe finding new life in Reg I. I can't remember if his Volcarona was Giga Drain or Struggle Bug, but I think it was Giga Drain.
I think it was, but again, with the amount of
Struggle Bug is better, especially with this
for this format. Absolutely,
Snarl. That's what I've been doing with Struggle Bug. Struggle Bug's been great. Fun fact: a lot of the Calorexes like to Terra Dark, and so you just happen to have bug coverage on your team now instead of playing that grass coverage, which the grass is nice in certain situations, but
no, the bug coverage there is great, and also it's like because bug is such a bad type, and
nobody play like you get to play, most people think Terra Dark is free.
It's so that's what I wasn't going there. I was going to talk about the fact that some of like the moves they give bug types are just absolutely bonkers. So Struggle Bug, I believe, so Struggle Bug does, unlike Snarl, Struggle Bug doesn't miss.
Yep, it's 100% accurate.
And I believe it's base 60 instead of base 55.
Base 50.
It's base 50?
Yeah.
Okay. Still, it doesn't miss.
Yeah. Fun fact,
how many times?
Most bug moves, I think, other than Megahorn, I think most bug moves have 100% accuracy right now.
Yeah, like they just make bug moves just insanely good.
Yeah.
Because 99% of the time the Pokemon attached to it, not great.
Yeah. String Shot's 95, Skitter Smack is 90, and then Megahorn is 90, I think.
String Shot's like a -2 to both Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
would be 95's fine.
That can be 95.
It's still really good though.
Yeah.
I think the Quiver Dance sets are great if you have screens. You might find it not great if you don't have screens. But you can still probably play it and get away with it. You could also probably play Tailwind in that slot. Calm Mind is another option if you just don't want to have the speed things. I know people have been playing like slow, bulky Rocky Helmet Volcarona with like Rage Powder over the Quiver Dance. That's also fine.
Also gets Will-O-Wisp.
You have inherent 50-50 Will-O-Wisp with Flame Body. So it's like cool. But just having the Will-O-Wisp is also good. You naturally get things like Hurricane if you wanted to like have something into like Kyogre. There's a lot of cool things that Volcarona itself does and can do it within this shell. But I think this is the best version to go with like the Grimmsnarl screen stuff.
Yeah. So now we get to go to the team that you've been playing.
Close to it, yeah.
Close to it. The archetype that you've been playing.
It's the archetype. So Calyrex, Ice, Miraidon. Not a whole lot really to explain right there. It's ice. It's bolt beam coverage. You have pretty much perfect coverage there. Things that Miraidon hates: Rillaboom, Sash stuff. Calyrex Ice and the rest of the team clean up pretty easy. Calyrex doesn't like Koraidon and the fire types. Well, guess what? Miraidon runs them over. There's not a whole lot really to like break down between the duo itself. It's very, very powerful when it gets to do its thing. Terra types on Calyrex Ice can range anywhere. I've seen fairy, fire, water, grass. I've ran into somebody playing what was it? I think it was Dark. Dark was a clever one because then you just resist the Astral Barrage and you get to just Glacial Lance into them for free. Because fun fact, Calyrex Ice can naturally take one base Astral Barrage without having to Terra. So if you do tap into Terra, you're gonna take one, maybe two, and so you'll very likely get your Glacial Lance off and then put them either to their Sash or pick them up if they are the Life Orb variant. Farigiraf and Hands feel almost important. Too important to like swap out. Hands is the one that feels like the most. It's like you could probably pull this out and put something else in.
Could be like AV Incin.
Like this could be AV Incineroar. This could be any kind of fake out mon. If you really need a fake out, it could be something else. I know Marco Fierro was doing Landorus, Urshifu, Landorus Incarnate, Urshifu, and then Incineroar. That trio felt really, really strong. The big issue with Hands is Hands has a lot of the same weaknesses as Miraidon. Actually, I think that's exactly the same, other than the Dragon weakness. But you're not living a Draco Meteor from Miraidon anyway with your Iron Hands, so that effectively is a weakness. But the big things about Hands is it's great when you have your terrain, and it's average when it's not there. And so it's hard to justify bringing Hands and Miraidon separately. You almost always have to bring them together, but then you're really weak to Fluttermane or whatever ground type they have across from you, which is why we see this Bug Terra here and this Fairy Terra here. Being able to Terra away from whatever the other one's weak to is really, really good. Farigiraf is huge. We talked about it on the Lunala team. Having less protects is bad.
I will like to note though that this team, at least this one here, has more protects already, and the Farigiraf.
Yeah. So that's also part of the inherent part of playing with the Trick Room stuff is like you have Calyrex who's going to play Protect. You're not Lunala where you have to play Wide Guard. Like you don't have as many tools, so you get to play that Protect kind of freely. The Ogerpon slot can be Grimmsnarl sometimes. It can be Iron Jugulus sometimes. I've seen Landorus Eye in this slot just as a fast special attacker that helps you in like the Miraidon mirror. And I guess it also has bonus points against Scarf Chi-Yu, which is another big problem that Calyrex can have an issue with, being the Ice Psychic, and then your Farigiraf not being able to really tank a hit from that either without having to Terra. That's probably why Urshifu's here. It helps that matchup, helps with that a ton. Urshifu pretty much takes care of all the fire types that you're scared of, but just like how Urshifu was an issue on the Arubega version, or the Lunala Miraidon stuff, it's kind of a dead weight here too, if that makes sense. Like you mentioned, fire types and sun like usually go hand in hand, and so it's hard for your Surging Strikes to pick up KOs with your Urshifu. And so this might be better off just being a Pelipper.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think at least on this version of the team, it might fit a little better. I know that, like, this is another team I've had a few a few of my locals have been like working on Calyrex Ice Miraidon, just different Miraidon versions. And I think one of the things that's really going to break through on the Calyrex Ice Miraidon, because again, this is pretty much Arubega, but you swapped out you swapped out Whimsicott for Calyrex Ice. So you don't have that Tailwind mode anymore. You're just leaning more into the Trick Room mode. I think once people figure out the better for Miraidon Calyrex Ice, and not just running the backbone of Calyrex that's been the successful backbone for about a year or so of running the Pokemon, that's when I think you'll see this team go from frisky with a lot of potential into like the same level as the CSR Sama. It's a matter. I wouldn't call it if. I think it's more of a matter of when, and the when is when the Japanese decide to switch to this instead of CSR Zama.
So you mentioned like swapping that Whimsicott out. That Tailwind is something that we're trying to figure out right now. Is what's the best Tailwind user for this team? Whimsicott's been fine. Whimsicott's popped up a lot. A lot of people, like they said, they swapped to Grimmsnarl to do T-Wave things. That's been fine. They're more trying. The Grimmsnarl version is trying to combine Joe's version and the Arubega team and kind of smash them together, and that hasn't felt great. But yeah, like finding that Tailwind setter that checks Pokemon is kind of the process of where we're at right now, especially for me right now, where I've been building and iterating on my team. I think I got it figured out. I'm pretty sure I got it figured out. We're really close if we're not there already, but you'll get to see that team probably in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah. When once you're home.
Say, depending on day 2 for TCG people and how that goes, will determine what time we're home. If nobody in the car makes it day 2, we'll probably go home early. If anybody makes it day 2, we're probably going to end up staying and hanging out for another day. But Monday is the current iteration of probably be home. Means I'll probably be editing in the car. Or I might edit in the hotel room. We'll see.
We will. Going on to the next team, which
should be the last team. It's Swordfish.
Hey guys, 2022 called.
Yeah.
Still going on.
Swordfish,
but also not really.
Like, it's iterated a little bit. You got some cool, like, different things going on. You didn't have Bleak Windstorm on your Tornadus before.
Like, no, you did not.
Like, that's really good for Tornadus to have that. So now your Tornadus, Kyogre, Zacian core is actually really, really strong because you have an answer to your grass types without having to play Ice Beam Kyogre all the time.
Yeah. I think one of the other things, so this version here is Assault Vest, and I do think the more common is like the Mystic Water.
The Mystic Water is more common. Mystic Water, Life Orb, but usually
Splash Plate is definitely the dominant item, or at least it should be.
It's the same thing as Mystic Water. Don't tell anybody. Water Spout, Origin Pulse, Ice Beam are the big 3. That last move, Thunder, can be Protect. It can be. I've seen Calm Mind lefty sets running around still. Whoever's doing that, more power to you. The big thing about this one is it's very Terra fluid. You don't have to Terra Kyogre unless you see Miraidon. And so that means your Incineroar can Terra, your Urshifu can Terra, your Tornadus can Terra, your Amoonguss can Terra, or even your Zacian if you really need it to. You're very Terra fluid, so you're not like locked into I have to Terra this Pokemon every time, which helps your matchups and lets you kind of be more flexible and show a little bit more team creativity. I think Amoonguss is outdated, unfortunately, right now. You could probably get away with this actually being your booster Brute Bonnet.
Yeah, that could be a call here. I do think that the Spore is really good. And or just having a grass type like the Amoonguss could also just be a Rillaboom.
Spore is weaker right now because Miraidon's more prevalent.
Yeah.
Like when it was Miraidon by itself, it's like, oh, Amoonguss is still good into these other matchups because Miraidon's not on every team. Miraidon can be on more teams now, so now Spore is even less like useful because Spore would have been really good into the CSR team, but now Miraidon's next to it. I don't have it, or I would have been good into the Trick Room team, but they have Electric Terrain up, so now I can't actually Spore them. That's the other big thing we didn't even touch on is just like Amoonguss and Brute Bonnet look like awful nothings in front of the CSR Miraidon core. Like it's just like, oh, cool.
Anyways,
but yeah, I think Amoonguss, you could probably play Brute Bonnet in that slot and have a good like better CSR answer than just knock off Incineroar and Terra Dark Tornadus. I think that actually might be smarter. Just having something extra to do with that Pokemon. One of the big things that we're going to probably see develop into Reg Eyes the further we get into, your support Pokemon still need to be able to deal significant damage. True, just plain normal supports are gone. You won't see the things like Grimmsnarl and Whimsicott will still be around just because they have Prankster, but things like Amoonguss are going to probably be swapped out for Brute Bonnet because Brute Bonnet can... More people are going to be running Sun, so you don't always have to run the booster. But running the booster means that you're set up more often. And so Booster Brute Bonnet might be better just because it has better matchups into Calyrex Shadow. Things like Tornadus will start to probably run Icy Wind again just to have that for the mirror. They'll probably play that over their Protect or their Rain Dance or something like that. You'll start to see more support moves on Pokemon that deal damage, like the Urshifu.
Yep, and I think that's one of the cool things to note here is the coaching to really help with Zacian. One of the nerfs that Zacian got is that when it switches out, it loses Intrepid Sword forever.
You don't get to double dip on Intrepid Sword anymore. It's only the one time.
It's also really nice to just even boost up next to Kyogre to make
that's the kicker. It's not just the Zacian, it's the defense boost you get for your Kyogre, your Incineroar, your Tornadus, etc.
I think one of the other things, just to note, the main difference between Swordfish, outside of the Zacian nerf, the main difference between Swordfish from Sword and Shield to now, the Sword and Shield Swordfish actually didn't run Urshifu. You would usually see, you would see Torn Incensation, Kyogre Grass type, but usually that last slot would honestly be, you would see an electric type such as Zapdos, which Stefan Mott used to win Indie Regionals. You would see Shedinja, which isn't in the game.
Thank God.
But Urshifu wasn't as prevalent because it just wasn't as powerful with Dynamax. Since there's no Dynamax, since there's no way to truly... There is no way to protect in front of the Urshifu, the amount of multipliers you get with the Rain Up, your Terra Water, your Stab, with your Surging Strikes, it cleans up. It's the nuclear option. This is going for Scarf with the Scarf because you have the coaching and the U-turn. This just as easily could just be Sash Stellar and also be fine there. Because you do have the Tailwind support, you guarantee that you're eating. It's going to take 2 hits to get to you. So you're able to guarantee that there. You could also run stuff like Taunt as a tech move if you still want to do that. Or you can add priority to the team with Aqua Jet on the Urshifu, which again, with the Terra Water or Terra Stellar, the Rain, your own Stab. Yeah, that's base 40, but that base 40 is going to be doing a pretty solid chunk into stuff.
I've seen Rain Boosted Mystic Water Aqua Jets Oko Chi use from full. I've seen it do it.
No, it
blows them up. So don't doubt the Aqua Jet. The big thing here, I think, with the Scarf versus other items, this is important to be able to keep weather control in a situation like this. Being able to U-turn out faster after Prankstermons go. So after, say, a Prankster Sunny Day or something like that, being able to U-turn out and reset the weather again, bringing Kyogre in, being able to get in a Mon for free because you were able to U-turn out fast. Pivoting is very, very important and going to be very, very important in this format just because it's the kind of fast-paced format. So taking a turn off to switch and not deal damage is very, very bad, in my opinion. That's part of why the Miraidon's really good. It's part of why we're seeing things like Volt Switch on Iron Hands or U-turn on AV Incineroar. Like, just being able to make sure you're able to pivot still is very, very good. And having that fast pivot option and the slow pivot option is actually really smart, I think, in my opinion.
You can do like a little shuffle around, like Incin. And
being able to shuffle without having to just hard switch.
Yep.
Is very, very good.
And so, yeah, like, this is probably the only Kyogre team you're going to see. I think there is, like, a Kyogre...
There's a Kyogre Calyrex Ice, yeah. And I guess, technically, Kyogre Zama is a thing. Calyrex Ice is the one I've seen the most of, and it's not been very good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, like... I mean, I haven't laddered even close to as much as you have. But I know, like, it's something that's popped up.
Just play Pelipper.
Yeah.
If you're gonna play a Rain Center next to your Ice Rider, just play Pelipper. Like, that's the easier. It gives you your Wide Guard. It gives you Wide Guard, Tailwind, things like that. Like, it's much easier to get away with stuff like that.
So what is do you have any honorable mentions or
for NA specifically, we love for some reason our Miraidon Ho-Oh.
Yeah, do you have a pace of that?
I have to go digging because I've seen it, but I don't remember where I saw it. Give me a minute.
Okay, so like while you do that, we can kind of talk about what it's doing. So Ho-Oh is insanely bulky. I will actually get those base stats up. I know specifically on the special defense side as well. Well, namely, let's start first of all, typing wise. Ho-Oh has insane typing into the stab moves and the coverage moves that the fighting type restricted Koraidon and Zamazenta are using most of the time. So you just have great natural coverage in that instance.
I know where I can find it. I know where I can find a paste.
Okay.
You keep talking.
Yeah. On the special side, so like the Lunala, the non-Meteor Beam Lunalas, and the CSRs, well, those are getting walled by the base 154 special defense, along with your 106 HP and your base 90 defense. So you're super bulky. You also have like the fire flying stab is really, really great. And you're doing that based off of your base 130 special attack, base 130 attack stat. Throw on the Clamulet, have recover. You could be a bulky tailwind setter. There's a lot of different things Ho-Oh can do. The reason why it struggles in single restricted is because that base 130 is a really good attack stat. It just isn't enough compared to the others. You only target on. You can only target one Pokemon, so you don't have those super broken spread moves. And the damage that you're doing to yourself, you also are taking a lot of chip with Brave Bird and Flare Blitz. Well, you're not running Flare Blitz. You're running Brave Bird and then Sacred Fire. And Sacred Fire can miss, and missing's not fun.
Yeah.
So, if you wanna, like, with all potential to miss, damage and everything, not great single restricted.
Yeah.
Double restricted, the
it's
Miraidon.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Double restricted, it just really helps with, like, the Miraidon with packing up its matchups, being a fire type and flying type to just get rid of those pesky grass.
It eats Astral Barrage really, really well, and can actually get really close to OHKOing the non-bulky Calyrex Shadow Riders pretty easily with like a helping hand off of Farigiraf. And so this feels like the correct style of Tail Room if you want to play Tail Room Miraidon. Because you still have the Farigiraf, because blocking priority is really, really good. You should do that.
Yeah.
You should do this 100% without having to worry about terrain going back and forth. Just play your Farigiraf. Just play your Farigirafs. It's really, really good. Iron Hands fits into this one a little bit better because you do have that ground immunity in Ho-Oh. So that's really good. So it also this Iron Hands in particular has dropped the low kick for Volt Switch, which I think is interesting. It kind of leans more into what I was talking about earlier, being able to pivot around on your team without having to just hard switch is good. Especially with this team having like things like Ursaluna that you want to get in for free. And so I really like Ho-Oh Miraidon as a pairing. There is a small like little piece of me that wants to play this at Milwaukee because I think this is a really cool meta call. Having the tail room style of stuff because it's already very similar to what I'm already doing. Being the trick room with the trick room Mon, hands, tailwind setter, and then Mon to take advantage of Quark Drive. I get down here. Iron Valiant is just cool. Disable could be Encore. That's like my one gripe. But also having Wide Guard there is actually kind of neat. But yeah, this is probably my big honorable mention. I think this team is really neat. This is from the Battle Rooms video that he put out like 2 days ago.
Yeah, no, shout out Colin.
You also get to click Earthquake with Ursaluna next to Ho.
You do get to click Earthquake, and that's the other thing where it's like this team you do have 4 protects on this team, which is great.
Like I said, that's the big thing about Miraidon. This one is Life Orb. I don't know if Life Orb Miraidon's correct. It feels fine, but like you lose the fairy coverage, so then you have to play a fairy type somewhere. I feel like,
yeah, or even just like the fact that again going back to it, and I think that's the issue that Ho-Oh has is you're now like you don't have the spread moves. You're just doing the single target moves, which of course, like I mean, Koraidon's doing the single target moves, but like it just
in a
feels
format full of Wide Guard though. That's not the end of the world.
It's not.
I can't tell you how many times I have to sit there and play Wide Guard mind games with my opponent because I have Calyrex on the board and they have a Wide Guard whatever on the other side. So I have to sit there and like, well, are they going to click Wide Guard this turn? And I have to sit there and think about it. And I just click High Horsepower and they click Wide Guard. So it's like, okay, cool. I called that one. And then I have to do that whole process again every single turn. I'm like, it gets annoying fast.
Yeah.
It's extra brain power I don't want to use.
But yeah, I'd say those are the main ones. I think. Do we have anything else?
I don't think there's any other teams that are like big enough to talk about like that.
Like, what was it? We're going through. Yeah, pretty much like some people are running Terapagos with Koraidon.
It's pretty much the same stuff.
It's the same thing. It's the same idea. One restricted does something while the other restricted, the turtle has to take its time. It's like a
the issue there is you can't tear your Koraidon then, so you just died a fairy move, and so it's like, man, this feels awful. I would much rather play with the Calyrex Shadow, or even Zacian. Zacian's another popular pairing with the turtle. I think both of those are much better than Koraidon.
Just even Zama.
Yeah, even Zama's better. Just lean harder on the turtle. Play Covert Cloak, Calm Mind, Turtle.
Yep. So yeah, that is where we're at, and of course, so next week it's going to be me and hopefully Carter if he's not working. I don't think it's going to be. Don't think it's going to be you.
We'll see what happens. I might be able to record from the hotel room. I don't know. We'll see.
So that might be where we're going from there. So a lot of fun coverage. If you are one of our listeners who is attending Milwaukee, keep an eye out for Carl.
Come find me.
Yeah, show him what it's like to actually go to an event in Gen 9. I really can't say much. I haven't been to a major in 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. So yeah, just say hi.
So I'll be at Milwaukee in NAIC, like in back to back month events. So they'll be fun.
Yeah, a lot of Regulation I, which already is looking like a really, really fun format.
Everyone was so worried this format was going to be boring and dull. I'm like, nah. This format, double restricted formats are always great because there's always so much innovation you can do now because so many more Pokemon get actually like access to cool things.
Yeah, this isn't 2016 where it's like, okay, you have these like you have the primals.
You have to play these. Like,
yeah, it's the primals that are super broken. Mega Rayquaza, which is a Mega that gets an item. That's not allowed. And oh yeah, we see that fairy type, that brand new fairy type we made. The box legendary has the most broken setup move ever.
Yeah, man. I miss Yveltal. I miss
Yveltal. I think Yveltal would be really healthy right now. Xerneas with Terra,
not so much.
No. I mean, maybe it would be a little better because you have actually no, because you can.
No, the real problem is it's the 100% complete Zygarde with Terra, just being able to sit there and tank hits forever because you don't have a super effective move into it after it transformed.
Yeah, and we aren't even talking about
that's scary.
And we aren't even talking about the new super mega ultra mega forms that they're going to give these Pokemon.
Right. We haven't even got that far yet.
Yeah, we're going to get Mega Xerneas, and it has to hold the Mega Stone, but the Mega Stone when you Mega Evolve, it just gives you Geomancy immediately.
Its ability just becomes Geomancy on as an ability. That's just so
busted. That's just what it's going to be. Oh my god! Could you... that's bring Yveltal back because Yveltal is ethical. The other two can just.
I literally spent 5 minutes this morning looking at Galarian Moltres. I'm man, this Pokemon would be great if it was Yveltal.
I was going to say this bomb would be awesome right now if it had about 100 more base set points.
If this was Yveltal, this Pokemon would be great. Otherwise, it's you just die to everything, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty much updating everything. Update on a few other local Littleroot lessons things.
Yeah.
Carter is currently starting to potentially get some sort of little circuit back. We're having so much
Dojo's going to be picking up. The bot works kind of for now. We got to get the spreadsheet cleaned out, which that's on Carter's to-do list. I told him to do it, so we'll see if it gets done. I might end up having to go clean it. And then everything should be working. Maybe.
Yeah, that pretty much should be back. So I'd say expect an announcement probably this week about the dojo and a few other things.
Putting Carter on the spot there, I see.
Yes, I am. And I will call him out on it next week without him even knowing. Because he'll listen at this point. And the other thing is the interviews we have lined up with with the players who did well in Atlanta, probably coming within a few weeks. Most of them are students or work in academia, and we gotta wait for the school year to end.
Gotta wait for school to end. Yeah, I'm about to say it's finals week here in not this week, but next week. It's finals week.
Yeah, I saw Keon yesterday, and he told me he'll be at Milwaukee next week, and that's the other thing. A lot of these players are also going to Milwaukee. There's I'm going to Milwaukee, then I have finals for 2 weeks, and then I'll be home. So I'm I'll get you before NAIC.
Tell them to come find me. I'm gonna have to make new buddies because I don't really have a whole lot of VGC friends going up there with me this time.
And of course, you have all the VGC friends. Again, we'll have some people coming up.
Yeah, I know. K Kid's coming for sure. Yep. I'll look up for them. I think Karibo's going.
I think Karibo as well. Yeah.
Which I'll be on. I always try to find Karibo every time I go to an event. So. Yeah, Indy was a blast, so I'll definitely have to go look out for them. And then maybe some of the St. Louis boys are going up there.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think there's a handful of New Englanders who are going, but we already sent a decent bit to Atlanta, and so now it's a lot of them the back-to-back is not doing great. So some of them just decided.
I'm very happy that NAIC and Milwaukee are about a month apart because I don't think I could do back-to-backs like that or 3 week apart like that. I need a month probably to decompress and get ready to go again.
Yeah. And so yeah, we'll have the coverage next week. Hopefully we're telling a good victory story.
We'll see.
Yes.
We'll see. The goal is to at least get close to day 2.
Okay.
At least go 50%. That's the goal.
Okay. And you'll be able to hear all about this. You good?
Yeah, drop the ball.
Hopefully you don't do that this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah. So, and you can hear all about this on at Littleroot Lessons on all of our socials, namely Blue Sky at Littleroot Lessons. The podcast is on our YouTube page where you can see all of our videos, all of our fun stuff. Join the Discord where we will be having, again, Dojo coming out, announcement soon, so we can start playing some competitive VGC again together. Get those friendlies in against people who are
I need
also
more practice,
playing.
people. Come on.
Yes. You can also find us on all podcatchers, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any of your other RSS feeds that you prefer to listen to your podcasts on. And with that being said, thank you very much, and we will see you next week.